A very interesting chess position. Black still has a strong defense, with a rook, 2 cannons, and 2 advisors for protection. Notably, there are 2 pawns, with the pawn on file 5, having taken the central position. Therefore, if it's Black's turn, they just need to move the rook to check, or advance, or move the pawn on file 3 forward 1 space, or move it to file 4 to end the game. Therefore, the only way for Red to resolve this position is to keep checking and win first. So the question is, what should be done? Notice how Red's knight is trapped by Black's 2 cannons. How can it escape? Because if you stop checking for 1 move, you lose. Red moves the pawn from 4 to 3, forcing Black to move the advisor back. Red checks. With the chariot again, Black has to move the advisor up. At this point, Red obviously cannot move the chariot from 4 to 8. Because even though, after the advisor moves, Red can capture a chariot, Black only needs to advance this pawn 1 step to end the game. The correct move is to move the chariot from 4 to 7. Obviously, Black cannot move the general to the central file. Red just needs to move the chariot from 7 to 5 to checkmate. Therefore, Black is forced to move the advisor from 6 back to the center. Red moves the pawn across, and the advisor moves up again. Now, a very remarkable move, considered the key to solving this position, is to advance the chariot from 7 to 2. Of course, Black cannot move the advisor from 6 to 5 because Red would just move across to checkmate. Therefore, Black is forced to use the cannon to capture the chariot, and then Red moves the pawn across to check. In the first method, if Black moves the general from 6 into the center, Red just needs to check with the cannon to force the general out. Then, the horse retreats from 1 to 2, delivering checkmate. Therefore, Black can only retreat the advisor from 6 to 5. Red brings the horse back, the general advances from 6 to 1, and the horse retreats to 2, delivering checkmate. The position is very interesting. The key point is how Red can maneuver to get the horse involved in the battle. In the final plan, a chariot had to be sacrificed, but just a cannon, a pawn, and a horse are enough to secure victory. Here is a position with a higher level of difficulty. As always, Red gets to move first. Black has 2 chariots, 2 pawns, and just needs 1 correct move to win. For example, moving the pawn from 4 to 5, or advancing the chariot from 7, or moving the chariot from 7 across. Therefore, Red must continuously check, focusing on the forces. At this point, Red has 1 chariot, 1 pawn, 1 horse, and 2 cannons. So, what should be done? The first move is to move the chariot across for an immediate check. Black cannot move the general from 6 to advance 1 because Red only needs to move the cannon across for a checkmate. So Black is forced to move the general into 6. Red captures the advisor with the pawn. The advisor retreats from 6 to 5 and then uses the chariot to eliminate it immediately. Black's only option is to move the general out to the 4th file immediately. Red then uses the horse to advance from 9 to 7. Black has no choice but to retreat the horse from 1 to 3. And at this point, if many choose to use the cannon for a check, Black still has a way to resolve it. The horse just needs to return. Red cannot continue to check the general. They have to concede defeat. The correct strategy is to sacrifice the chariot to force Black to eliminate it with the general on the 4th file. Then use the first cannon to check. The general must move to the central file, and the second cannon delivers checkmate. The uniqueness of this checkmate position is that, besides the general, even the central file general cannot move. The next position, although it looks quite simple and is very common, not everyone can solve it. Red only has a chariot, a cannon, and a horse left. Black is very strong, with a chariot, a cannon, a horse, and even a pawn in the center. The advisors seem solid, so how can one achieve victory over the opponent? Some people might choose the following. Advance the cannon to check first. The general retreats to the 5th rank. The horse jumps to check. Then the general exits the palace, and the chariot continues to check. Black just needs to move the cannon across. Red cannot win and has to concede defeat, because at this point, Black only needs to advance the chariot 1 space, or move it across to checkmate. Red cannot defend against it. If Red moves the chariot back, Black just needs to move the chariot across to end the game. So what is the correct strategy? First, this horse jumps to check, and Black cannot retreat the cannon 6 by 1, because red only needs to advance the cannon 1 space to checkmate. Therefore, black has no choice but to move the general out of the palace. Red still moves the chariot across to check, and black's only option is to advance this advisor. And the very special move by red is to sacrifice the chariot by capturing the advisor, allowing black's cannon to take it, and then using the cannon to checkmate. Very clever. The general and the cannon cannot move. See you in the next chess scenarios.